Back row minister of the world premier, Mr. Monty, coming at you live and direct as always. So, the news. Don't watch the news a lot, but when I get a chance to watch it, boy, is it the most entertaining stuff on TV. It even makes my old Star Trek reruns look mediocre. All the news yesterday was big bad Trump separates the Mexicans from their children, and he had these staging areas with Mexican children and his other Hispanic children with foil covers on, and they really laid it on thick for the new agenda, the children hating Americans being scripted and written by the elite. So you have to ask yourself this question: why does the elite want America to be pretty much in the limelight as one of the most hated countries in the world? Because think about that. The lowest thing you can do is mistreat children. And for a country that's so pro-life, we do things that are totally opposite of a pro-life movement. So you got all these pro-lifers out here who are supposed to be the right-wingers. They plant the right-wingers as the pro-lifers, but they're quick to separate parents from their children. But at the same time, they say, parents, keep your children. But if you're Mexican, that doesn't go for you. You get the hell out, the children can stay here with no parents, and we'll give them some foil sheets and we'll show compassion. And that's pretty much the new script for this Babylon that we're in, this unraveling of this new Babylon. And then, you know, you read the Bible, they talk about the new Babylon and how the new Babylon falls apart. And we're really seeing how they are really piling it on this hatred of America. And now the eyes are really going to start turning towards our country as just heartless people. And a lot of this is coming from this administration that we had, the Trump administration. Pence standing up there. I saw him standing on the news when Trump makes his statement that America won't be a migrant camp. And it's kind of funny that a person who's a migrant himself, remember now, they are the drunks from Germany. His grandfather is part of the German bloodline. You can do your research on the drunks. His mother is Scottish, part of the Scottish bloodline, migrant. His wife is Russian, migrant. Talks about America, the biggest migrant camp in the world, not being a migrant camp. Now remember, at one point, all that land was Mexico anyway, so it's not like the people there are immigrating anywhere. They were there prior to this. I mean, there was Native American land. They conquered people to get that land. The Americans conquered people to get that land. So it's land that it was obtained at a blood price. But to sit and say that we are not a migrant camp when we were forged, and if you've ever been in New York, been here to our city, and you've got a chance, and I tell everybody, you know, sometimes when you go to New York, go to Ellis Island, go to the Ellis Island Museum and just read the history and how they reword manslaughters and murders, and they make it sound so good. And you know, if you go to Ellis Island, you see this stuff. They really have to word it, but then they also give you the truth about the way that slaves were treated when they first came, because we didn't get the benefit of getting dropped off at the Ellis Island facility. You know, African Americans got to the harbor, and that pretty much was okay. They sold you like mangoes when you got there. But this is a country pretty much put together by migrants. We're not the original people who were here. There were people who were here before us, many tribes that were here that we've conquered and destroyed and murdered. But it's not a migrant camp. We tell people who conquered before we got here that it's not a migrant camp, when it's one of the biggest migrant camps in the world. It's built on the blood of immigrants. That's what forged in America. Slavery and immigrants created America, built America. New York City, where I'm in, was built by slaves. Millions of slaves died building New York City, forging New York out of the pretty much the wilderness that it was in. Digging and clawing and cutting stuff down just to create Manhattan. Bodies still there in Manhattan in this immigrant camp. But to say that migrants have no place here is to say that none of us have a place here. And now that's the kind of the new scripting for this thing of American exceptionalism. Americans are special. You know, we're special people. We're not immigrants. We're better than everybody else. And now that's how the world will begin to look at us. And that's a bad light for us. That makes us one of the most hated countries in the world. It's kind of this pompous attitude that now the elite wants Americans to have, this pompous attitude. And, you know, Trump plays off the pompous role better than anybody. The assholes, I call him. He's a jerk. He's an asshole. Americans are pompous. America's ass. But that's how, if you go to a lot of countries, a lot of people really feel that way about us because that's the way we carry ourselves. So we're better than anybody else. There's no country like America. Dude, you don't live in any other place. There's people who will come here to visit and 5 minutes later they want to go home. They don't want to be here. They got a home of their own. They come to visit. Some people come here and they get the reality check that a lot of us were born and raised in, that yeah, it looks good on TV, but unfortunately that's not the reality of America. So Trump's new thing is that we won't be a migrant camp, and the Mexicans are just the worst people to ever enter America, and they're just destroying America and all this other BS. And there's always that thing to kind of hide the truth about America, that we destroy ourselves. We don't need any help. Mexicans aren't destroying America. Most Mexicans, you know, that come over here that are undocumented, they can't get insurance. They can't get medical service. They don't have any documentation. They can't go to college, some of them. Their kids are able to benefit from some of the stuff here in this country, but for most of them, life is hard. And if you work with them, you know life is hard. Most of them, life is very hard. But they make ends meet, and a lot of them have jobs. More than I can say about most Americans. Some of these suckers won't even get them to go to work. At least they know they have to go to work. At least they know they have to take care of their families. So we can learn a lot from these migrants. But just the arrogance that's being portrayed inside of this script is the thing that's disturbing to me, and how we're going to be looked at by the rest of the world based upon what's going on today. And now you see the women thing is coming to light. Now, if you did pay attention to the news, you saw all the former first ladies attack Trump, and now we see Hillary coming back up. Now Hillary's back in the forefront mysteriously as we move closer to 2020 and this possible woman president. And then we see Pence came out of the dark from nowhere. Pence is on TV again. So the script is starting to unfold. The script is starting to unfold as the hate part of the script comes out. America hates everybody. We hate Hispanics. We hate black people. We hate homosexuals. We hate anything that's different. We hate it here. We got this arrogant script being written right now, and kind of this airing in of a more tolerant leadership base, kind of to get you to vote for the woman president. Now remember, like I said, most world wars were fought in Democrats had been in office. To have a world war, the Democrats usually are the people who have to sell it to the masses, because most of the people in the country are Democratic or liberal minds. You know, your red states are in existence, but most of those folks are out there in rural communities. So you need your liberal minds to kind of sell war to the public and to the world. So let's kind of see how this plays out with the we don't do migrants in America kind of script, to see how the woman president's role begins to form and who's at the forefront, because we still don't know who they have as a possible selection. We saw 4 women, so they're giving us kind of this hint that it might be a first lady. Might be a first lady, we don't know. But kind of throwing that hint out there. But I still have my wild card, who's not a first lady, who possibly could come out of this, but I just want to see if she starts to slide her way into some of this Trump bashing as we move forward. Mr. Mahdi, Back Road Ministry. America is great because of the diversity. America is great because the immigrants put it together. America pretty much survived off of the back of slavery. There would be no America if it wasn't for other people. And that's just the reality of the place. You can say what you want to, but usually when people say that, they don't want to really deal with the history. And all you have to do is pick up a book and you can learn a lot. This is Mighty Back Road Ministry. Peace.